Two massive rockets landing simultaneously, standing upright like, I don't know, pencils on their tails. It's still mind bending to watch. But just when we thought we'd seen the impossible, SpaceX did something even more extraordinary just this last month. They launched their massive Starship rocket and then caught its returning super heavy booster with mechanical arms on a launch tower. You caught a rocket. Imagine that. A 230-foot rocket controlled itself back to Earth, reignited its engines to slow down, and was plucked from the sky by a tower. But what I find even more fascinating isn't really the rockets themselves. It's the thinking process that made these seemingly impossible feats possible. The process that takes impossibilities and transforms them into, oh, I don't know, I can't believe we didn't think of this sooner kind of thoughts. But here's what separates visionaries from dreamers. While the entire aerospace industry was saying impossible, Elon Musk was asking a different kind of question entirely. Instead of, why can't we, he asked something deceptively simple, which was, what are we really trying to do here? That question, as I would learn firsthand, can reshape entire industries. Before I explain how Musk revolutionized entire industries, I need to share something that happened in his office at Tesla that completely changed how I view innovation. It's a story about military-grade displays, the future of cars, and a way of thinking that most of us were taught to abandon somewhere around when we were in kindergarten. Now, I was there as HP's CTO. It was 2011, and I was sitting in Elon's austere office, very austere office, nothing fancy, just practical. And I was answering Elon's questions about HP's military-grade ruggedized displays. These weren't your ordinary screens. At HP, we built them for special operations teams who needed displays that wouldn't fail during missions, no matter what. They had to work in extreme desert heat, Arctic cold, and survive the kind of treatment that would shatter normal screens instantly. Most executives, when I do these kinds of discussions, just ask about adapting our technology to their problem. But something different happened. Something that made me stop mid-sentence and really pay attention. You know that moment when you realize you're watching someone's mind work in a completely different way? While I was explaining our mil-spec testing procedures to certify these displays, Elon wasn't just asking about the displays. He started breaking down every assumption about what a car interface should be. Every single one. Why does a car need physical buttons at all? What's the actual purpose of a dashboard? What are the fundamental laws of human visual interaction? The questions kept coming, each one stripping away decades of display and automotive design assumptions. What started as a technical discussion about ruggedized displays quickly turned into a complete reimagining of how humans and vehicles should interact. But here's what really struck me. Musk didn't see the technical future. He did, he focused on that, but he also saw the resistance that would come with it. I remember the quote very specifically. He said, government officials are going to push back. They'll try to prevent the future. I didn't think any more about it, but watching him that day, I realized I was seeing something more powerful than genius. I was seeing a systematic approach to innovation that anyone could apply, anybody could learn. Though I must warn you, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You'll start questioning everything, and I mean everything. Be careful. Do not question your spouse. This systematic approach to reimagining what's possible isn't just for tech billionaires. It's a learnable skill that can transform how you solve problems. From redesigning your daily routine to revolutionizing entire industries. Musk's secret weapon is deceptively simple. It's called first principles thinking. Instead of copying what others have always done or assuming something cannot be done, Musk breaks problems down to their fundamental truths and builds them up from there. Musk often says, quote, "I think it's important to reason from first principles rather than an analogy. The normal way we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. But with first principles, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths and then you reason them up from there." End of quote. So, this method follows basically 3 steps that anybody can learn. They are stripping away all the assumptions. 2, identifying the basic truths that can't be reduced any further. And then 3, rebuilding a solution from scratch. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Well, we're going to go through each of those in detail and actually the actions you can take or you should take to apply this. But it's how he revolutionized space travel and electric cars, and as I witnessed firsthand in my meetings with him, it's how he designs and changed how we interact with our vehicles. So step 1, identify your assumptions. Every solution, every process, every way things are done is built on assumptions. First principles thinking starts by spotting and questioning these assumptions. This isn't just asking why. It's about identifying what you believe to be true and asking, how do I know this is true? Look for phrases like, oh, that's just how it works, or it's always been done that way. These are red flags, signaling assumptions that need examining. So let's apply this, I don't know, we're going to use the example of rethinking coffee shops. So, the action steps. 1, write down every fact you know about what you're working on. So in this case, I don't know, coffee shops need a storefront. They need a seating area. They have baristas. They have very expensive machines. Next, circle absolutes and musts. Must have a prime location. Always need morning hours. Requires trained baristas as an example. Number 3, question each truth, such as, do customers actually need seating or do they just need great coffee? Do we need a prime location? If people would come to a not so prime location, but they would come for amazing coffee? Number 4, mark the traditions, like traditional cafe layout, the standard menu boards that you see above the counter, counter service. All of these are just habits and traditions. And number 5, challenge the assumptions. What if the coffee shop had no physical location at all? So now that you've gone through the assumptions, we're going to break these down. So step 2, break down to the fundamental truths. Once you've cleared away assumptions, break everything down to basic, provable facts. These are the foundations, the laws of physics, mathematics, or verifiable human needs. They're the truths that remain true regardless of opinion or tradition. These steps require brutal honesty, and I'll tell you, often feel very uncomfortable because you're stripping away everything familiar to get to the core of what is actually necessary. Now let's continue with our coffee shop example. First one is, what are the basic elements? What's the fundamental basic element? In this case, people want caffeine. People enjoy coffee taste. They need convenience. They're willing to pay a premium for that quality. 2, what are the verifiable facts? Such as 70% of orders are to go. Peak hours in a coffee shop are 7 to 9 a.m. And most customers use mobile payments from their phone or from an app. 3, now, what are some real constraints? Such as the coffee needs hot water. The coffee beans must be fresh. There are health regulations. There's a maximum drink wait time that we as humans are willing to wait for. 4, the core need. What is really the core need here? In this case, People want great coffee conveniently when they need it. So 5, strip away down to the essentials. The essentials are these are only the things you need. You need quality beans, you need hot water, you need skilled preparation, and you need a delivery method. See what we did? We got rid of that requirement of, do you need a store? Do you need seating? What are the core truths you need to have? And now step 3, we build up from these basics. So now comes really the creative part. Using only your verified fundamental truths, build your solution from the ground up. Ignore traditional approaches. Forget what others have done. Focus solely on what your fundamental truths allow and require. This is where breakthrough innovations happen, when you combine basic truths in new ways without the constraints of the assumptions. Rebuilding our coffee shop concept. So, step 1, start with one truth, the core need. That is, people want great coffee when they need it. That's the fundamental truth. Step 2, add proven elements, such as, you could do mobile ordering, you could do strategic preparation points, you can create a delivery network. 3, question each addition. Do we need physical pickup locations, or could we deliver directly? And then 4, test against that core need. So, does this make it easier for people to get great coffee when they want it? And then validate the feasibility. Is this model financially viable? Can we maintain quality during the delivery? So what's the end result of this? We've gone through the 3-step process. Maybe it's not a coffee shop at all. Perhaps it's a network of mobile brewing stations, or maybe a subscription service with precisely timed deliveries. The key here is when you think about first principles thinking, following these steps, we've reimagined the entire concept of a coffee shop by focusing on what people really want. Great coffee conveniently when they need it. Now, I'm going to warn you, be ready to face pushback. When I share and teach these principles with teams and organizations, I often hear, but we've always done it this way, or the customer expects a traditional approach, or it's too risky to change everything. This resistance is normal. In fact, it's actually a good sign. If nobody pushing back, you might not be pushing far enough. Remember Elon's prediction in his office back in 2011? And he said government officials will push back. They will try to prevent the future. Now, he was talking about revolutionary interfaces in cars, and here we are 13 years later watching it happen. Just this last March, the European New Car Assessment Program announced new requirements pushing back against touch interfaces in cars, demanding manufacturers add more physical buttons if they want to achieve a 5-star safety rating. Not measure the actual safety, but we have a regulator telling a company what they need to change in their design with no proof. They're literally trying to regulate the future back to the past. Now, Elon didn't just innovate. He saw institutional resistance coming a decade before it arrived. But here's the key understanding that pushback is not a roadblock. It's a checkpoint. It means you're probably onto something important. So keep going. Now, how do you experiment with first principles thinking in your day-to-day? My advice, start small. Maybe reorganize your workspace using only first principles, or redesign one small business process from scratch. Now pay attention to the resistance you will feel internally. That discomfort when questioning long-held assumptions. That's your first principles muscle getting stronger. The beauty of this thinking style is that it scales. The same process that helps you optimize your morning routine can help you reimagine entire industries. The same principles that improve business meetings can revolutionize entire product categories. Here's what I learned from that meeting in Elon's office. First principles thinking isn't just about solving problems, it's about seeing possibilities that were always there but hidden behind our assumptions. Now, when you strip away, oh, that's how it's always been done, you find yourself in a space where anything is possible. Now, remember, every major innovation starts with someone asking, what if we're thinking about this all wrong? Now, think about that. The next breakthrough could start with you asking that same question. Because once you learn to think from first principles, the only limit to what you can imagine is the laws of physics themselves. And as it turns out, those laws allow for many more possibilities than most people assume. Elon's proved that. If I were to boil this down to one single sentence, it would be, we need to return to the thinking style we were told to abandon when we were 5 years old. It turns out those endless why questions that we used to drive our parents crazy or our kids drove us crazy with were actually onto something. That childlike curiosity to question everything, to not accept all because that's how it is, as a valid answer. That's the secret weapon of first principles thinking and innovation. So start today. Don't wait. Find some way to test it and use it within a process, your desk, your office, your organization, or even maybe a nonprofit that you volunteer at. Pick one thing you know is true. Question it. Break it down. Build it back up. You may just find yourself revolutionizing something that everyone else took for granted. After all, who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, someone will be writing about how you saw something coming that nobody else could imagine. All because you dared to think like a kindergartner again. And hey, if you want to dig deeper into innovation and thinking skills like this, hit that subscribe button and become part of our innovation community. But don't stop there. Hop over to the channel and click the join button to unlock exclusive content and early access to upcoming videos. If you join as an Innovation Guild member, you'll also get invited to live office hours where you and I and the other members of the Guild will go deeper, where you can meet your fellow Guild members and have a seat at the innovation table. So, are you ready to challenge the impossible? Join us and let's reimagine the future together.